Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bird Dog Chat with Ethan and Kat. We are excited for a fun evening of education and camaraderie and more or less Kat complaining about stupid things that I do and finishing that out with answering your questions. Just to break down how Bird Dog Chat works, we like to cover a topic in the first half of the chat this evening that is nutrition, and specifically Eukanuba dog food, the nutrition that fuels all of the dogs here at the kennel. And we have the ability to allow everyone to play Bird Dog Chat Bingo, which is kind of a fun game.
Everyone that's a patron.
Everyone that's a patron. We'll break that down here for you. And then we, at the end, which is somewhere between half-ish and beyond, answer questions. Everything that comes through the chat, if you got a question burning a hole in your pocket, we do answer.
That's nice saying. You just stole that. That's mine.
We do answer super chats first just to be able to sort through on a priority scale. We're not saying you have to do that, but it is one of those things that we will get more questions this evening than we can answer. If you want your question answered, that's the best way to do it. Next things first.
We usually...
What is a patron and how do you play the game, right?
That's
Anybody
a great
that doesn't
question.
know, patreon.com/Standing Stone Kennels is our online dog training community. What we have set up there is the place to get additional help. We have an online training course. We have free YouTube videos, literally hundreds of hours. I did some quick math, and I think it would take you, if you watch 24 hours a day, it would take roughly a month and a half to sit and watch through every video that we have available online. That's crazy,
24/7 for 45 days straight.
And you wouldn't get through all of it. It would be close, though. So, all of that being said, it's all there, but if you want a guide specifically to help work through and sort through those pieces, as well as give you the kind of feedback on this is right, this is wrong, this is, well, you know you're ready to move on. I've been working on that one for the last couple seconds. And
I'm glad you tickle yourself.
Somebody's got to do it. So...
And it ain't gonna be me.
Yeah, we digress. All right, patrons, online dog training community. We want to be able to help you. That is the additional support that we can provide if the videos aren't enough or you just have additional questions. We can go all the way from simple Q&A in a private chat section all the way up to weekly or bi-weekly video chats where I can either watch sessions or we can break down where you're at.
Weekly or bi-monthly? You get that wrong every
or
single time.
bi-monthly, once a week or once every other week. I am clearly well rested.
That's debatable.
All things being said, patrons are the largest supporter of everything that we do at Standing Stone, and we appreciate everyone that is a patron. This is a little way to give back. This evening, anybody that's a bingo, the first bingo, excuse me.
Go back.
Heck, I don't care. Anybody that gets a bingo this evening while we are live in the chat, we will ship you a bag of dog food. We'll talk about which formula is best, and we're actually going to go through some of that this evening. So
I'm jumping in here because he's here. This is Nixer. He has been gone for 4 months in South Texas, and I've been missing my old man. And today is his birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday.
And I'm a terrible mom and did math wrong. And apparently I've been telling everybody, including myself, that he was going to be 12. Wrong. He just turned 11. So, he is younger than I thought, which makes me a little bit happy because it means he's going to be around longer. So he just turned 11 today. So everybody wish Nixer a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, buddy. Let's do some quick check-ins. Go ahead and bop through that. We got Central Missouri. Missouri.
We
Dan
got,
from Virginia.
Yep.
Go ahead and read because I suck at it.
we know that. Caleb Walker and Chesney Walker. We've got Statesboro, Georgia, New Hampshire, Central Minnesota, Edmond, Alberta. Hey, Kaylin, I just talked to you on the phone earlier today. Utah, Spruce Pine, North Carolina, Nate from Iowa, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Pretty Prairie, Kansas, Annie, like same room. We've got San Antonio, Texas. Hey, you guys just got back from there. St. Louis, Southern California, Piedmont, South Dakota checking in. New York. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Hey, Miss Kelly from New Jersey, as well as we've got Mac and Jax with you as well. Heartland, Wisconsin, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Waxahachie. Oh, I like saying that. Waxahachie. I don't even know if I said it right.
You probably didn't.
Cruz will tell me if I did or didn't. Atlanta, trimming Zeke's nails. Great use of your time. I love it. Minnesota, hey, Melanie. Central Texas. Minnesota. I've heard it's been snowing considerably up north, y'all.
My question is, how far south does the snow venture? Any Iowans got any of the information for us?
Iowans? Iwonians? What do you guys call yourselves? Iowans? Iowans is not a thing. Iowans.
I only lived there for like 7 years. Here's a fun Iowa joke, okay? If you cut off the bottom row of counties from Iowa and add it to Missouri, it increases the IQ of both states.
Oh, that's terrible.
I lived in the bottom row counties there. And the top row counties in Missouri. So.
We got a whole bunch of happy birthdays to Nixer, Bryant, Arkansas, Michigan, Russellville, Kentucky, Wisco, Ontario, Canada, Zanesville,
Canada.
Ohio, South Carolina, Paris, Tennessee, Idaho, Warsaw, Virginia, Central Wisco, Oklahoma, Northern Florida, Zanesville, Ohio, and Manitoba, Canada.
Did you say Manitoba?
Manitoba. I did. Spooner, Wisconsin, Six Lakes, Michigan, Northwest Iowa, Southeast Minnesota, Wheaton, Illinois.
Central Iowa has 0 snow?
Minneapolis, Minnesota, Southwest Minnesota, beautiful British Columbia, Canada,
There's no snow there?
Denver, Colorado, Indiana. Awesome check-ins, guys. So, like we said before, we will get to questions after the second half of the conversation this evening, giving preference to Super Chats for sure.
Already have a Super Chat question that'll go in first.
Yep.
Now, the next thing is, first and foremost, we'll jump into the topic of the evening, which is
nutrition.
Nutrition based. We are not nutritional experts. We are not nutritionalists. I do not have a PhD in anything. Heck, I didn't even graduate college. So there's that, folks.
But don't let him fool you. He has a ton of great knowledge. We have experience with feeding dogs for many years.
More of it I would consider blue-collar experience, though. It's the things that we get to see and do, and we do...
Real life.
Real life. What is the results?
With our sporting dogs.
What are we seeing? What works? What doesn't work? And we've fed a lot of different dog foods over the years. I do want to start this off by saying we are sponsored by Eukanuba. This is not something that they specifically requested that we do, okay? And we don't have a list of specific things that we're supposed to say. This is our opinion on what the dog food is, and we only work with companies that we believe in. So
and test and utilize for months, if not close to a year, before making the full-on switch to feeding Eukanuba or utilizing anything. And then
we're going on almost 4 years of feeding Eukanuba dog food.
Over 4 years, because we started feeding before Aiden was born, and Aiden's 4 and almost a half right now.
Okay, so we're going on almost 5 years of feeding Eukanuba, and have been sponsored by Eukanuba for drastically less time than that. So all of those things being said, we want to break down a few reasons why specifically, and it's not a name game on what we've fed in the past, but if you're feeding a dog food to one of your sporting dogs right now, we probably have also fed that. There are lots of good dog foods out there. We used to do a talk quite a while ago that said approximately $1 per pound would be a rough estimate and headed you in the right direction of a quality dog food. It's not the case anymore.
That's been years ago, and things have definitely changed. Everything costs more, and that includes dog food.
Yep. So some of the big things that when we made the switch to be on Eukanuba, it was the first year. This is some of the big things. Okay, so first and foremost, we had issues that we didn't really know were nutrition based. Okay. And the reason that I can pretty confidently say that they were nutrition based is because the only thing that changed was the dog's nutrition. They didn't move to a new place. They weren't new dogs. Same dogs, same environment. We didn't
change their activity level, their stresses, things like that. It was all the same.
The only thing that changed was they got a little older and they ate different dog food. So that gives us the confidence to say that the changes that we saw in the switch of dog food was nutrition-based. Now,
as well as it has consistently stayed the same, the changes.
Exactly. So the biggest thing and the first thing that I can say that we saw with the switch of dog food was the first year that we started feeding Eukanuba dog food. We feed the 30-20 Sport. It was guide season. Spent 30 days up there running, and every year I fed probably on average. The bowls that we have, they're a stainless steel bowl, and I would just scoop it in the bag and fill it clear to the top.
They're a 2-quart bowl.
Yeah, it holds 6 cups of dry dog food. Is that right? Am I doing that math right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it held 6 cups of dog food, whatever the size of the bowl is. What now? Yeah, so, I mean, technically it could be 8, but I don't know. I measured it.
8 cups is a 2-quart.
Yeah, I didn't feed anybody 8 cups of food, but I did feed everybody 6 cups of food.
But you also were floating.
So, fed 6 cups of food, covered it with water. How the dogs had enough room in their stomach, I have no idea. But then also had to get up early to try and feed them like a cup a little bit in the morning and then have enough time to work through things, right? Have time to digest so they're not running on a full stomach, which is fairly easy I say get up early. It's fairly easy in South Dakota because the first week back then specifically, you couldn't start till noon. And then after that, 10 o'clock. So I had to get up at a normal hunting person time. Actually, I got to sleep in a little bit, feed the dogs a little bit, and then they had time to air and digest and do everything else. Now, every year we came out of the hunting season, the dogs were skin and bones. I mean, they looked like death warmed over, and it was tough. It was like, I don't know, it's just hard work, right?
And that was feeding them as much as we truly physically could from what they could stomach literally at a time, as well as opportunities to feed them at a time.
So the first year that they ate Eukanuba food the entire fall, that 30-day period, they came out and Muddy specifically still had the little fat bumps over her butt.
So the butt dimple. You guys have all seen it.
She had a little butt dimple, all right? So that, I was like, holy cow.
And that was not feeding 6 cups of food or more a day.
I fed none of the dogs over 4 cups of food. So that immediately again, my blue collar understanding of the process says that the dogs are getting more out of that dog food than they were getting out of the previous dog food, whether you want to call that more digestible, or you want to call that more bioavailable, or you want to just call that better nutritional value or whatever. On the bags, the numbers are the same. So it has to be something that they're able to actually digest, absorb, and use more of what is in the kibble, okay? Moving forward, we at that point in time, now this is, and I say at that point in time, this is, again, 5 to 6 plus years ago, we struggled with some fertility issues. Fertility issues both in our boys and girls. Now, again, I have no science that backs this up, but what I can tell you is the dogs didn't change, their environment didn't change, but their nutrition did change, and they changed. We had small litters. I'm talking anywhere from 2 to 4 puppies.
Inconsistent heat cycles.
Cycling in like the 12 to 18 month category, not 6 month category.
And now our dogs, our females, cycle almost exactly 6 months on the nuts, like clockwork. I can plan breedings so much more consistently now because these girls are going to cycle when they're supposed to cycle.
Now, that doesn't mean they get bred every 6 months,
No.
but it gives us the ability to truly plan, right? It's almost able to say, she should come in this week, and she does, right? So it's very valuable from a standpoint of planning, from a standpoint of, and dogs are supposed to cycle that often. So again, there must be something different
The
about
proof's in the pudding.
the nutrition, which allows their bodies to do what it's supposed to, right? Now, there's a couple things that go into that. First and foremost, I talked about our dogs looking like death. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Taking this into consideration, though, if you look at marathon runners in the women category,
The human women category.
which is essentially what our short hairs are, or not even marathon runners, but just women with extremely low body fat.
Yes, extreme athletes.
With even non-extreme athletes, but it happens more with athletes, specifically running athletes that have extremely low body fat, okay? That prevents their bodies from cycling properly, okay? They call it something like something with red in it. I don't know what exactly it's called. Do you know what it's called? What is women runners that don't have regular cycles? It's like a body fat percentage related thing. Okay. We'll figure out what it's called. Anybody else knows what it's called can get way ahead of us and throw it into the comment. What's a woman? This evening I'm drinking none other than Topo Chico. And Kat, what are you drinking?
My good old gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic. Okay, so you can't say it? I thought it was like simple term.
Charles is like, nope, not simple term.
does it say?
Amaria. Amenorrhea.
Yeah, or the red something, right?
It didn't tell me that.
Whatever. Basically, women don't cycle properly either if they missing cycles. Yep, they don't because body fat percentage is too low. That's not healthy. Just like men being I don't know what the numbers are, 10% body fat. That's not healthy either, and it's not sustainable. Look at the things that even professional bodybuilders or weightlifters, any of those people, they have a bulk session of some form, right? Because you can't grow in an extreme calorie deficit, and you can't stay extremely low body fat percentage without a calorie deficit, right? So all of these things are important and
contribute to the process of not having regular cycles.
Correct. Now, our females at the time struggled with maintaining proper body weight, and that's not something that we struggle with anymore. It's almost to the point where we have to scale things back. And we did at that point in time have a handful of dogs that we would refer to as easy keepers, right? Some of the slightly older dogs or some of the just different dogs that were quote unquote easy keepers. Dogs out of Cali or out of shooter were historically speaking easy keepers, and what we ended up doing was provide, like, all right, well, you need to eat less food. Okay, you need to eat less food. Now, everybody has seen the recommendations on the bag, and this is the blue collar dumb thing that I did. Okay,
just the uninformed thing, right? Like, people make assumptions or decisions not necessarily based on enough information, and so continue. But this is something that really hit home to us, and when we made the change,
when we made the change, it was a recommendation. So we fed dog food that was listed as all life stages, and I thought, sweet, this is easy. One bag feeds everybody, and you've got easy keepers, you've got dogs. So we've got dogs that are eating upwards of 8 cups of food a day, and then we've got other dogs that are eating as low as 1 cup of food a day. Huzzah. You just match it to the official, like you match it to the dog's needs or what seemingly needs.
Body condition.
Yep, and you feed to body condition. That's what we recommend for the most part for the average person. Now, when you've looked at the bags, it has the information on there that says 50-pound dog eats this amount of cups. And most of the time, that's an underestimate for what the dogs actually end up eating. They usually eat just a little bit more in our experience. And it's one of the things that is what is formulated to fit the dog at that weight, getting all of the
vitamins,
micronutrients.
Yep, vitamins and minerals that are necessary for, again, proper nutrition. So if you've got a 50-pound dog and they're an easy keeper, so you only have to feed them 1.5 cups of food a day, but it's recommended that they eat 2.5 cups of food a day. They are not getting the adequate amount of micronutrients that they need. So they're missing something. There's a deficit there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times those dogs we have found and we saw were looking for ways to fill that need, whether that was crunching up rocks, eating grass, or snacking on poop. You know, gross, but dogs do that, especially when they're feeling their bodies are telling them they're missing some micronutrient, as well as from a volume standpoint, they're not feeling satisfied, guys. Like, they are feeling hungry because their tummies aren't full.
The amount of cows that we used to have.
Grass eaters.
Now, granted, dogs still eat grass. None of these things completely go away forever. Dogs pick up rocks and carry them around. This was like neurotic behavior. Every time they're out, they're trying to eat all of this grass. Every time they're out, they're trying to crunch rocks and carry them around. It's a constant... It's a thing that, like, where does this come from? But it's essentially a leaching of minerals from the dog over time. Dumb mistake, okay? So moving past that, you get into, well, how do I feed these dogs properly? Well, you have to feed a different formula, right? Okay, so
different
then you get
fat and protein content.
Well,
so they can still get the calories, but also the volume, and allows them to get the micronutrients that they need.
Correct. And with the average dog food, you have to feed a different formula. It's essentially a completely different food with a lot of them. And then you have all of these different bags of dog food that don't really work together 100%, but you have them. Okay? That is the way that you need to do it. If you operate a kennel or you have multiple dogs, you need to work around what their individual needs are. You can't just go, well...
You can't take the easy road and be like, this is the only dog food we're going to feed because it's easier, and we'll just adjust volume. Because if you're feeding less than 75% of what the...
This is a statistic that was provided to us.
Yes, if you're feeding less than 75% of the recommended daily value of dog food based on your dog's weight, you need to change your formula because they are not getting enough of the other micronutrients that are necessary for their nutrition.
Correct. So all of that being said, moving into the Eukanuba dog food specifically, which is what we can speak to today, we have 4 different formulas. They have 5 total in their sporting line of dog food. So it's Eukanuba Premium Performance. They have 5 different formulas. 2113, which is, I have to look at that one because we don't use it very often. It's called Sprint. It's designed for dogs that are that are sprinting. I mean, short bursts of energy. It would be the lowest calorie in the realm. It's a harder one to find because it doesn't get used as often. I know, so they make less of it, okay? What we do use here at the kennel is, I'm going to run through all of these, 26-16, which they call exercise, 30-20, which they call sport, 30-28, which they call work. Now, that's a professional SKU only. You will not find 30-28 anywhere unless you specifically talk to a pro or us and say, you know, my dog struggles to hold weight on this. 30-28 is the answer, and we can help you if you actually need it.
Because we were talking about 75%. If you're feeding less than 75%, it goes the other way too. So if you're feeding more than, was it 125 or 100? I think it was
Roughly.
125%.
Go the other way. 25% is probably close.
Then you also need to be feeding
different formula. So, and then the last, but also the first, if you look at it this way, would be the Puppy Pro. It's the newest addition to the performance line of food, and that is what we feed all of our puppies. Now, there's a few different things that they've done with that I want to touch on, and then I want to go through kind of how we regulate our dogs at the kennel specifically, and it goes into how we're feeding dogs that are actively working on a regular basis, and then what we do from there to break down essentially what needs to change for each individual dog. I think I just said the same thing around in a circle. Puppy Pro, they came out with a brand new kibble design, okay? That kibble design is essentially, it looks like
a double stacked Cheerio is what I keep telling people.
Pretty close, but probably not quite double stacked. It's close.
Close.
It's very close. It has a hole in the middle. And with that provides two things. One of which, it changes what you have to look at dog food from a volume standpoint, because we scoop 1 cup, right? Well, there's actually less dog food because of all of the air with the hole in the middle of the kibble, that you have to maybe feed just a smidgen more from a scoop standpoint, but it's not actually more food, if that makes sense. So
if you were weighing the food, you would, you know, the weight would be the same,
what
like
you're looking
so
at.
many in grams. But if you're scooping it and it's volume, space, that's going to be different. So
that portion of it's not difficult, though. The cool thing about the kibble is it does two things. One, it breaks apart really easy, which encourages puppies to chew their food. That is something that we've struggled with for years and years, which I think goes, again, hand in hand with the dogs feeling like they're lacking something, which is why they couldn't hold weight appropriately. They had to eat excessive amounts of dog food, all of the things.
And they just scarfed it down.
Ravenous like wolves. And I was like, yeah, our dogs are crazy eaters. Now, after years, taking those, again, same dogs that were ravenous eaters, they still eat well, but they have slowed down to a more reasonable state of it takes like 60 seconds to eat a bowl instead of 6. Okay?
And
that
there's
is
more
not an
crunching.
exaggeration.
There is more crunching going on.
Yes.
Not just inhaling. Gone.
Yep.
It's
And
some chewing happening.
And they hold weight appropriately. But the thing about it is that starts with puppies from the beginning. It's also a really small kibble, which allows, I mean, it prevents any issues with
choking on the
I've heard
food,
horror
things like
stories
that.
with other foods of puppies choking on
But we
on dog
start, just to throw this out there,
Yeah.
we start feeding the Puppy Pro to the mamas.
Yes.
Because it is fortified with DHA, which is highly important with the development of puppy brains.
There's a bunch of science-y stuff in there that says that Puppy Pro is beneficial to babies in utero, okay? We start feeding as soon as we know moms are pregnant, which helps them be ready from a milk production standpoint, which we have seen excessive amounts of gain in milk production, feeding Eukanuba dog food. So not that everybody is going to breed their dogs, but again, it says it has the right stuff to help the dogs through everything that they're doing. Then we move puppies. Typically, I think it says you can feed puppies upwards of 16 months, but I believe I saw somewhere up to 2 years or whatever. But 16 months is what their recommendation is. Now, we rarely, with our specific dogs, make it to where they make it past them needing some level of supplemental help, basically. So you start to incorporate 30-20 more calories. They need more calories because they're active, high metabolism puppies. And that starts
and
in
we're
that.
not pushing our puppies to be excessively active. It's not like we're throwing 6-month-old puppies on roding harnesses and trying to road them, or the treadmill and trying to push them. They just naturally and push themselves to work harder and burn more calories. So this was something that we learned recently, which was a cool little tip or trick, if you will, when we went to this Eukanuba event, was keeping your puppy on the Puppy Pro for as long as possible. But if you're struggling to hold weight based on that, 125% volume, incorporate a little bit of the 30-20 in there. But they're still getting a lot of the benefits of the Puppy Pro, of the DHA and other fortified nutrition by adding
sciencey stuff,
but getting a few more calories, a little more fat and protein by adding the 30-20.
Key here being that Puppy Pro is great for puppies, okay?
Yes.
Finding when they need to switch off of that is dependent, again, feeding to body condition. If you are feeding more than that 125% category or less than the 75% category, we need to make some kind of adjustment. Now, essentially,
and if your puppy doesn't look good body condition-wise based on that range, then you're like, need to make an adjustment.
Yes, absolutely. The really cool thing about it is the entire performance line of dog food is built off of the same
sciencey stuff
chassis, if you will. Let's make some kind of comparison. It is, I don't even know the right words because I don't know the true answer, but same fiber profile or makeup, or basically the base of the dog food is the same across the board. The things that would give dogs upset stomachs for switching between foods, right? You've always heard you need to switch over a gradual period of time because there are things that are different from one food to the other. What are those things? Types of fiber, amounts of fiber, FOS.
Digestibility.
Yes, digestibility. Also some forms of prebiotics, okay? All of those things can cause differences and issues of how their gut handles it, all right? It also takes months, not days, months to be able to see a difference if you make a switch. So don't say, oh, we're going to try Eukanuba, and we switched, and wow, our dog's coats are so much shinier after 2 days of feeding them. That's not going to happen, okay? What you will see...
Because all of those cells take time to turn over, and...
I think the skin portion, this was something that I learned recently, right? It's like 4 weeks, 30 days, something like that for all
at the minimum for the cellular turnover.
All of your skin cells to be completely new. So that is what we're looking more 30 to 60 day category where you should start to truly be able to visually see changes. Outside of your dog may actually completely blow its coat and grow a new one in because it's like, oh my gosh, look at all of this nutrients we have, all right? If you're feeding them Old Roy or something, or Gravy Train, paint that picture. I'm guessing you could use your fingers to do it. So all of the dog in the performance line, though, is built the same to where you can literally go 1 cup of this, 1 cup of that. You can switch from 30-20 to 26-16 to 30-28. All of that can happen in a 3-day period, a 1-day period. You can feed all of it differently to meet the individual dog's needs from a
caloric standpoint, basically.
Yes, fat and protein to help them have the energy levels that they need, basically. How many calories does your dog need?
But you don't have to give up something else. You don't have to be like, oh, well, it would be really nice if I could feed the 30-20 and get the glucosamine chondroitin or something like that, or the prebiotic, but I can't because my dog would get fat on the 30-20.
Yeah.
So, or I'd only have to feed a super small amount. No, all of the rest of it
the only
is the
differences.
same,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Literally the only differences is the amount of calories. So what you can look at is, let's say your dog is older, their metabolism is lower. You're feeding 26-16 exercise most of the time at your house, like our dogs do in the off season. Most of the time they eat 26-16. But you're going to go on a week-long hunting trip, okay? You grab a bag of 30-20, you switch them. Bingo, bango, they have everything that they need for the entire trip. And then you don't have
for
issues.
The increased energy load that they're going to be expending.
You don't have issues. So This is the oh, the Gravy Train comments. Here they come. Um, all in all, folks, how we utilize at the kennel now. So we've talked about the different formulas and how it's awesome that you can switch between them, the benefits of that. And if you look at the bag, essentially, you can see, again, to stay in that 75 to 125% window while feeding to body condition. Body condition means you don't feel spine, you don't feel hip points, and then you can find as many ribs as possible while losing the other two. That would be proper body weight, okay? That's most sporting breeds. Most of the time. Now, at the kennel specifically, our feeding schedule, we feed our dogs twice a day. This is a huge addition in time and effort and energy provided. The average kennel feeds once a day. Not all. The average kennel feeds once a day because it's time consuming. Also, it slows down the flow of what happens. We need time for the dogs to digest. Now, what we do to speed that up or minimize that amount of time is we only feed dogs 1 cup of dog food in the morning. That's a small amount. There's an extremely low to non-existent. These are statistics I just made up on the spot. But I know that the chances are very, very, very small for them to have any issues like torsion or bloat, okay? Flipped stomachs from a very small amount of kibble in their stomach. Also, it starts to digest pretty quickly, and we feed early or in the dead heat of the summer, we feed, again, a small meal after the dogs have cooled down at the end of the training day. We want to break the meals out into 2 separate meals because it helps the dogs to be able to get what they need out of the food. You can only, I live by this one, okay, folks? You can only gain so much weight and absorb so many calories in one day. So if you're going to have yourself a cheat day, make it a damn good one, all right? That's what we just do it all. We're going to have pizza, a whole pizza for lunch, and then we're going to go out to eat dinner.
Too.
Ice cream cake, all of it, right? We've already crossed the threshold of what our body can absorb. I don't think this is real sciencey stuff, but it's what I tell myself. We've already crossed the threshold, so it doesn't matter anymore today. But
dividing our dogs' meals into 2 opportunities to absorb nutrients, to digest that food, because they're only going to be able to process so much at a time and not just pass it through.
Yep.
Now, with our pregnant females, our nursing mamas,
totally
that changes, is completely different. Some of those mamas eat 4 or 5 meals a day because of space, right? When they're super pregnant, there's only so much space for food, as well as allows them to continue to process and gain those nutrients on a regular schedule throughout the day, and not just like Ethan was saying, trying to process everything. Well, you can't process that much. And their amounts of calorie needs to produce milk and take care of those puppies is huge, and we wouldn't be able to feed them all enough in 1 meal or even 2 meals. So
100%. Then they get a big meal in the evening. This does 2 things. First of all, they have full stomachs, and
more content.
They're more content.
Nappy time.
They get to relax. They get to just chill out in the evenings after having a full belly, okay? Now, again, we try and stay in the category of feeding no less than what it says on the bag, but most of our dogs eat 3 cups of food. That is the magic number we try and stay in. It fits in the zones of the things for the weights of the dogs, and this is the magic.
3 to 4, I would say.
Well, yep. I'm saying that the number we try and stick with is 3 cups. We never feed more than 4 cups of any specific formula. So if they're on 26-16, they're holding weight, great, and then all of a sudden something changes, activity goes up, we can't hold weight, we give a little extra, that's that 4th cup, and if they can't hold weight on 4 cups, we go to 30-20, but that jumps back down to 3 cups. Like, this is the game that we would play through the kennel. If they still can't hold weight, then we would go to 30-28, but we would go back again to 3 cups. So it'd be 3 to 4 to 3 to 4 to 3 to 4 through the different formulas.
And sometimes we'll even play with the formulas a little bit, and maybe they get 1 cup of 30-28 and then 3 cups of 30-20. It's a balancing act of volume based on the caloric needs and, those micronutrients, but also to stay in that 4 cup range, no more than 4 cup range, and feed to body condition. So it's a game, and there's a little bit of, adjustment being made, and it is time consuming, but it is the best way to take care of the dogs in our care, because not every dog's the same. Not all of their needs are the same. So we need to make adjustments based on what they need and what's going to help them hold the best weight, perform the best.
Absolutely. So I would say that would be a look into how we use the food specifically. Ultimately, folks, we've never been happier. There are lots of options out there to feed. Find something that your dog eats well and that you can follow similar types of what we just explained with feeding them. There is not one dog food or one dog food brand that is best for every single dog out there. I'm not trying to tell you that there is. This is why we feed Eukanuba and the specific things that we've seen that benefit us, our kennel, and the dogs in our care. If you yourself want to try it, fantastic. If you don't, good for you. The biggest thing is look at the specifics on how much your dog is supposed to eat of whatever dog food you're feeding, and then see, can you hold proper body weight and body condition, and do you not see any of the other random things that we kind of talked about? So let's go ahead at that point.
There were, I think, 2 questions that I saw randomly popping through that were related to this topic, so I think we should hit on those.
Let's go ahead and answer some questions.
And one of them was a super chat, so let's hit that first. From Robbie Ryers. What is the best time to switch over from puppy to adult food? We kind of talked about that a little bit, but I want to give that a specific little plug. There is no specific time. The bags have recommendations, like we said, but it is based on body condition and that percentage of volume. So if you can't maintain good, proper body condition on the maximum amount of food you should be feeding a puppy, then you need to make an adjustment. Whether that's at 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever, you need to see visually what your puppy looks like. And if they can't hold weight, then you need to slightly change that. Maybe that's a combination of puppy food with, the sport type of food that gives them a little more fat, a little more protein. So, it might be a 50-50 split of adult food and the puppy food as they're getting older and have more, energy needs. And then there was another question. It wasn't a super chat, and I know that we have another super chat, but that's kind of getting into training questions. And I wanted to hit on this one because Robert Galanodo, I might have mispronounced that. I've heard of issues with puppy food, that it causes growth ratio issues, bone mass versus flesh, tendons, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I want to mention.
I've always called that hockey foot, and they kind of turn in like that. And what the actual term for it is, what's up? No, it was, I'm going to have to help
and when
Google
they
this one.
the front flops over. So yes, that can happen. And it is based on, puppy growth happening too quickly. Now, that's the reason that these large breed or sporting dog formulas are different than necessarily a small breed or just general puppy food. They are formulated specifically to keep in mind the growth ratios that need to be happening so that they're not growing too quickly. And I don't want to speak to it specifically as saying, oh, there's a slight calorie deficit or something like that. But it is formulated so that they're not just exploding growth and that their, bones are growing faster than their tendons and things like that. And that's also why we don't recommend having a fat roly-poly puppy. Feeding to body condition is really important because if you've got a fat roly-poly puppy, that means they're probably getting more than they need and they are at a greater risk of having, growth issues that, the puppies aren't developing their ligaments and tendons at the same rate as they need to be developing those bones. Did you find what it was called?
See, I've seen it called something else, but this specifically just talks about bowed leg puppies and front leg deformities. There was a name for it that I found.
Knuckling over, things like that.
That is something that happens, but that's not what it's called either.
But yes, I know what you're speaking of, whatever the technical term is. but we definitely don't want that happening. So feeding a sporting breed, large breed puppy food that is specific to that calorie need is important. And those pictures are awful. Like
These
some of
are
those
some of the
pictures
worst
are
I've ever
really
seen.
bad.
Yeah. Don't Google search this. I know what you're doing right now, but
Don't do it.
Google search bowed legs in puppies. It's awful to look at. And if it's not corrected,
it will. We actually had a dog that came in for training that was a mature dog, and she had that where it never corrected itself.
correct. If you ever see anything like this, you need to make some changes, and most of the time it involves drastically slowing down the puppy's growth. So it's going to be
letting
like
the rest of their body catch up.
it's going to be an extreme calorie deficit. At this point, it is the healthiest thing for them from a true overall ability to grow and
seek
mature and
veterinary
develop.
care, guys. Yeah. Seek your veterinary's care on recommended food amounts, things like that, and say, hey, this isn't right. I don't want this to continue. I don't want this to cause, structural integrity, non-integrity, whatever, with your dog as they continue to grow and develop. So reach out to them. And if you're not getting the answer that you want from your vet, reach out to another vet. So do we have any bingos? And can we roll into answering some more questions? I know that there was a super chat. I think Aaron Mumblu had one about walking fetch or something right up there.
There it is.
He said, I watched some OG videos from years ago. That could get scary.
Well, what it could get is side burning, all right?
That too. Mm-hmm. You covered up half the question. Does the walking retrieve training you did with Rex still work as a good method? Is that a good training for working on heel while incorporating fetch and retrieve?
100%, but not all at the same time. It's still a good method. It is not really a good training process to be working on heeling. You should be doing those things separately. And if your dog doesn't do a good job heeling on leash at this point, walking fetch is not the game really to be playing. So lots of things involved with that. But the walking fetch is a huge transitional piece to move from table work to ground work to having a consistent understanding of what's happening, because it keeps the dog moving while allowing you to fetch non-moving objects. Still the key here. If you take and throw something for it, the dog's likely to chase it. Most of our dogs are doing a pretty good job from a retrieving standpoint, but if they get to chase it, it defeats the purpose of understanding, are you actually collar conditioned to fetch? Do you understand how to shut the collar off by grabbing something on cue? So we need something that's not moving in order to be able to help prove that, and it makes a really good transition. So yes, still a great method. Check out the video series that we did with Legend. That has a really cool addition. Did I do the circle drill with Legend? I think so. Mm-hmm. So that would be a newer version of that. Maggie says we have snow. Wah, wah, wah. Hopefully you get rid of it because it's supposed to rain on y'all tomorrow. But it's a newer version that works a little bit better. So
I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, Charles. There was somebody that asked at Caleb Whitworth DT Systems. We use the 1820, not 50, for most of our day-to-day training. So the 1820 has vibrate as well as momentary stimulation and continuous stimulation. The 1850 does not have vibrate, but it has a beeper feature. The beeper is not tone. Beeper is for locating dogs on point or from a distance of up to 400 yards. So the 1820 DT Systems H2O 1820. Just want to throw that out there. No misinformation.
I've got a lot of, there's snows here in Iowa. This will be a fun weekend.
That way for hunt testing.
Anybody ever hunted dumb quail in the snow? We're about to. It's just part of it, though. Actually, I have never hunt tested in the snow, so I'll get to write this one down for a new one. First for me.
Gotta love it.
Never. No, never have I ever. What'd you find? Oh, is this the name of it?
Rickets.
Growth. Have soft, deformed bones due to nutritional. Interesting. I've also heard it called something else. So there's definitely several things that are but rickets. Thanks, Annie. She found rickets in children. Rickets happens in cattle, pigs, chickens. Interesting. Thank you. So rickets is another thing. There's several different things. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. Charlie, would you be able to run and grab and weigh? Let's see. The easiest would be 1 cup of
30-20
dog food.
in pounds.
Yep.
So it might be like 0.3 pounds or something. I want to do some mathy math.
Yeah, we're going to do some math. There was a question, or more of a statement.
Cost.
It says $90 for a 28-pound bag of dog food seems insane. Well, I will tell you it is expensive, but let's do some math here in just a second to break down how much it actually costs per day. Because I will tell you, from the move that we made, we pay 3 times the amount roughly that we originally paid. I mean, that was the switch to go to 3 times, which from a business standpoint, it is expensive. And again, mind you, we paid for the dog food for years before we got any assistance at all from a sponsorship standpoint. And
the sponsorship standpoint isn't necessarily, oh, here's food to feed or here's money to feed your kennel.
No, it's exchange for marketing. I mean, that's a big part of what it is. So it's whatever. It's sponsors, okay? We still pay for dog food on top of the sponsorship. So, But I want to break down in numbers what it actually costs per day. It's an interesting thing to look at and see what it actually works off to, what it works out to. Now math. Now, I do want to say, I don't know if we have any. Yeah.
I don't know if this is what you were talking about, and I might be pronouncing this wrong, but genu verum, bow legs, can be caused by rickets.
That's not what I was looking for. It's not the term that I was looking for. It's called something else, too. Or
you want me to weigh it in ounces, not pounds? But we've got a 28-pound bag of food. I got to figure out.
Well, you could do it in ounces.
Math.
28 pounds times 16 ounces in a pound.
We'll see what the math happens to be.
Ounces would be more specific. Be the same, but it would seem more specific. What's the next question? We got anything?
There was one, and I'm trying to find it, and I have a bingo.
What?
Maybe. Let's look. Look it up. Buttercup.
I was about to say, I don't think anybody's got a bingo yet. Oh, here we go.
No. Oh.
No, an alcoholic drink on deck. Shout out to Patreon. Roading. Did we talk about roading?
Yes, I did talk about roading.
Oh, yeah. Ethan says, brutally honest comment. I have not said brutally honest comment. I'm sorry. That's not a bingo. Is there anyone else?
That doesn't help. 0.290.
0.290. So let's do some quick mathing.
Divided by 28.
I just slow your brain down for a second.
That doesn't work.
0.29.
96 cups of food.
96.55. We will round for the sake of rounding.
Let's do 96 because error.
It's a half. It's a half a cup.
Okay, fine. 96 and a half cups of food in a 28-pound bag. Divided by, let's say, 4 is the max that we would feed.
Mm-hmm.
So divide that by 4.
All right, we're gonna rough these numbers out here.
What are you doing?
96.5 divided by 4.
I'm not.
You can feed 24 days, right? Is that number?
Yep. So just under a month.
So you're at $90.
3.5 weeks.
24 days. Yeah, it's $3.75 a day. That's what it costs to feed Eukanuba at retail.
So skip Starbucks, man, and feed your dog.
Well, that's Kat's brutally honest comment of the evening. Wow. Oh, here we go. This one's another one. It says, someone's location gets possibly mispronounced.
Oh, yeah. That
Yep.
happened. I did
We
that.
said the word quail?
Yes.
I'm sure.
We
Charles.
were talking about the hunt test. Quail in the snow.
I know.
Do you? Charles chimes in incorrectly, but yes, he did chime in.
Punky Nixer. It's his
Absolutely.
birthday.
Whoever got that one is a bingo
All right.
bango.
We've got a bingo. Let's see. Is anybody else?
Close?
I see. There's a couple other that are close, but I don't see anybody else with a bingo currently. But I do have a bingo. Okay. So we do have a bingo. If you throw in your oh my goodness, folks. We do have a bingo in the nick of time. What an amazing...
How many Kansas folks does it take to math? A lot. And definitely don't ask Jessica.
I started this
she
conversation off of the
100%
fact that
says
I
that she
didn't
can't
graduate college, right? Okay? There's a reason
There's
for
a
that.
calculator for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so the potential of a bingo, I just need to see a bingo number, and then all you have to do, so we can make sure we've got the right person, and then all you do after that is you send me your informaciones, Justin Webster.
Yeah, $3.21 a pound. Is that what it ended up being? Yeah, that's what we said?
Yeah, because it's a quarter of a
Hamburger's
pound.
more than that.
Well,
Isn't it?
yes.
Yeah, like $5.99 a pound.
Yes. It doesn't change the fact that it is still expensive. So, but we talked about the cup weighs 0.26?
90.
0.29. 0.29. So roughly a third. So it would be at $3.21 a pound. It would be roughly over $3.21 because you're feeding over. If you're feeding 4 cups of food, you're feeding just over a pound of dog food a day.
Yeah, we did like $3.65 or something like that per day. You did that on the calculator. $3.75. We did that math.
Yep.
Now
All
I'm
right,
hungry
folks.
for a hamburger.
Now you want a hamburger. All said and done, we've got a hamburger on the way. Do we have the number yet?
Oh,
yeah,
right there.
20. That is right. Justin Webster, winner, chicken dinner, bud.
Yay! And
Winner, Eukanuba dinner.
Zeke gets some Eukanuba.
All right, so, buddies, send us a message there on Patreon. We'll get the rest of it taken care of. Do we have any other questions this evening?
43 cups a day in Texas. I don't even know what the kennel here is. It's more than that.
I do. So 4 times. Yeah, but there's I mean it's roughly we roughly we're in the category of feeding roughly 1 bag of dog food a day at the kennel. I mean that's we have multiple formulas, but if it was just out of 1 bag, we would feed roughly 1 bag.
That's how many cups a day?
No. Yes. But no. I mean it's not 100% accurate because the mom dogs, when we have them, they eat way more than that.
The
Like
puppies.
the moms eat 1 bag of dog food a person a day. That's not even real, but they do eat more because they're eating for
This is an
6
estimate.
or 8 or
This
10
is an
or
estimate.
12.
That's
right?
an estimate. That's not this is the kennel, not the puppy whelping wing. So
That's roughly what we feed a day.
yeah, but
And
how many did we? So that's cups.
That's 40 pounds a day. We just talked about the dog eats an average of, I mean, that's in the kennel right now. It's roughly
That's
40.
that many cups. So you take that times 0.290. Do it. I'm going to be in charge. 46. That's almost...
Some dogs eat 3 cups. Some dogs eat 4 cups. So roughly 40 pounds of dog food a day. All right, folks. I think we have digressed into a hole so deep we are not digging our ways out of this.
Math.
There's going to be a new one.
Starbucks is trash. I don't waste my money on that. Mic drop. Okay, well, you're Mickey D's or whatever. I'm just saying things that we give ourselves as a treat on the daily, whatever that may or may not be. Smokes, or
Just
a beer.
get a second job, feed your dog. All said and
Kat's
done.
going to have to walk away here pretty soon, or her brutally honest comments are going to get brutal.
Folks, we love you. We enjoy the time. We enjoy answering questions. We enjoy chatting. And we enjoy pretending to be able to do math with a calculator in front of y'all.
No.
On that note, I'm glad to be able to give at least it's a write-off. It's a write-off. What is it? Whatever that means. We are at the hour mark, folks. I'm the guy with the pink gun.
I'm Kat, the dog trainer.
Signing off. Goodbye, y'all. We love you. Have a nice night.